of all the great personalities, including yourselves. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaparakammalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagan Raghunathamritam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijanasaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saraswati Shakhantam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinamandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Jayadam Sudho Pangor Mohamadramatirikati Matsarvasvabadam Bojho Radha Madan Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadumadha Srimad Ratnakar Simhasanastho Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Deva Preshthali Sevimano Smarami Shriman Rasarasaram Vimam Shivatatadasita Karshan Venu Swane Gopir Gopinath Shrestana Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sredevi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Deva Jagadanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we will refer to a personality who is the author of this book, the Brahma Samhita, the only book by this author published by the BhaktiSiddhanta Book Trust, the Brahma Samhita. His Divine Great Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada, the person that our Srila Prabhupada addressed as Srila Prabhupada. So, because on Friday was his appearance day, 152 years ago he appeared in our world, 152 years, and the topic of today's class is the great gift of clarity that he brought to us all, to the whole world actually. Now when we reflect on this, we see that actually clarity is a very amazing thing. So let's say we are perplexed about some problem, we're struggling with something, we don't know what to do about this, we don't know what's going on, we don't know what's wrong. When that moment comes, when we actually understand what is it that the problem is, that's a moment of clarity, and actually 50% of the problem is solved the moment we get that kind of clarity. Because as soon as you have the clarity, then now you know what is to be done, how to solve it, how to move forward, and how to get out of it. Most of us struggle with different kinds of issues related to clarity from time to time, and it's a feature of everyone in this material world. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yata siddhaye yatatam siddhanam kaschit mam vetti sattvatah. What this means, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yata siddhaye, that means that among thousands, among people, men, Manusha is also woman, and all human beings, among thousands of human beings, one attempts for spiritual perfection, one out of thousands. So what that means is that among all those thousands of people, only one has enough clarity about what they need to do in life. The remaining thousands of people just going around without any clarity whatsoever, just going around like cats and dogs and sheep and goats. And among those, Manushanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Siddhaye Yatatam Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Vetti Tattvatah, which means that among those who try to reach for perfection, and among those who actually reach spiritual perfection, only one among thousands of such perfected beings understands Krishna. So, when we see Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's life, when we see the kind of clarity that he has brought to all of us, who has opened up the path for all of us, that kind of clarity is unmatched. There are many souls who have tremendous clarity for themselves, but usually they don't enter into the murky world of the material world. The moment they get the clarity, they're gone. They're sitting in the Himalayas, appreciating bhajan, relishing Krishna's holy names. Very few acharyas actually descend into our material world and struggle with dullards who constitute the bulk of the population of the material world. And they undergo all sorts of tribulations in order to do that. A big problem of our material world also is that we just saw Manushanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Siddhaye means thousands of people. Most of the people are in confusion, totally confused in life. And the problem is that most of these confused people go around spreading their confusion to everybody else and conveying their opinions freely. There's a famous saying, Paropadesha Pandityam. It's like once it comes to advising somebody else, then I'm big Pandit. Hey, you should do this, man, you should do that, you should do that. It should be like this, sitting in an armchair, telling the Prime Minister what he's supposed to be doing, telling the Finance Minister what he's supposed to be doing, telling the cricket player how to play his cricket shots. Never left his chair. But Paropadesha Pandityam, Sarvesham Sukaram Dhanam. It's very easy for everybody. So when a Manushanam Sahasreshu, out of those Sahasreshu, when a confused person spreads their confusion to everybody else, that is the nature of the material world. Some of those confused people are very famous, they're very charismatic also, they're very powerful through various karmic gifts, they're very powerful people, but they nevertheless spread their confusion. So among all these such people, there is one such person, like BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is extremely rare, because he is the direct result of a pure devotee's prayer. Very extremely rare. And when that person spreads their clarity to everybody else, that's such a relief. We may take it for granted because many of us here are actually practically born in the movement. So they don't know what kinds of confusions people have to undergo before they actually find something like this. I was a victim of such confusion, right? I had read 15 different editions of Bhagavad Gita from my childhood. I had read books of this Swami and that yogi and this PhD and that scholar and that scientist and this fellow and this fellow. By the time I was like, what, 20, a teenager, I was like, that's it, I'm done with all this nonsense. All of this is just nonsense. Because hundreds of people spreading their confusion upon me, I took all that confusion, I was a mighty confused fellow, walking around, thinking that the clarity is that now I've given up this search. My clarity, that was my conclusion. That's it, I'm done with this nonsense, Bhagavad Gita stuff. But anyway, 25 plus years ago, as the devotee just said, I did get this Bhagavad Gita, and I did not realize that how it was about to just change my life completely. That Bhagavad Gita brought me clarity in life. It removed a whole bunch of my confusion. It took a long time, of course, because when you're deep inside the murkiness, it takes a while to get to the surface. So I got that Bhagavad Gita about 30 years ago now, actually, almost. And then it completely changed my life. Then that clarity in that Bhagavad Gita as it is comes from our Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. But Prabhupada got his clarity from his Srila Prabhupada, who is Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, in a Vyasa Puja offering, Srila Prabhupada wrote a poem that was published in the Sajjan Toshani of the Harmonist magazine. And when his spiritual master, Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati, saw this poem, he was extremely pleased with this young man. And he gave the instruction that whatever he writes, you print it. That's it. Don't worry about editorial permission and so on. So from that particular poem, which we'll read here, it's available. It's called Adore Ye All. So if you have a phone, you can search for it. It's available on ISKCON Desire Tree. It's also available on AK Songs. What's that?
It's Lilamrita also. It's in there.
It's in this Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita? Perfect. Brilliant. So I don't remember the chapter where it is at. But if we have enough copies of Lilamrita, let's spread it out. I don't think so. So Srila Prabhupada writes in this poem, Adore ye all the happy day, blessed than heaven, sweeter than May. When he appeared at Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, his divine grace. So that's the first stanza. There's a total of 8 stanzas in this poem. And in this 8 stanzas, okay, not even going into the details, there are about 24 different points that Srila Prabhupada makes in this one poem. Okay? The first thing is that the appearance of the spiritual master is a happy day because it's the appearance of our liberator, the appearance of our savior. So the appearance of spiritual master is should be very widely celebrated because of that. And he appeared in Puri. So like we just said, 152 years ago, he appeared in Puri. 1874. That was when Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati appeared on our planet. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his father, was trying to spread the consciousness of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement all over the world. But he had found that it was completely covered up by all sorts of deviations. If you can imagine this, there is one particular form of so-called Gaudiya Vaishnavas, for whom spiritual perfection is not attained until a man runs away with somebody else's wife. And these people are supposed to be Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers. There are so many such crazy people who believe that they are followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And at this particular time, approximately 300 years after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu concluded his manifest pastimes and all of his close associates also left the planet, this had what had become the state of what is known as Gaudiya Vaishnava. So the moment somebody heard the word Vaishnava in North India anywhere, they would spit in disgust because they're such people of such poor character, thieves, robbers, people of very, very poor character, philosophically extremely weak, believing that Krishna is just an immoral boy running around after girls. Very, very poor understanding of what Vaishnavism was all about. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur discovered that. He was actually born in an atheistic family himself, but he got hold of these books. He started studying the Vaishnava text and he said, this has to be disseminated far and wide. And he actually disseminated that to one of his books, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books, landed up in McGill University in Montreal. I have a copy of that book, which I got in one of the Gaudiya Mats, published in 1991 or something like that. Like paper is falling apart, like very poor quality printing, but still it's a great book. So he said that even though he had 14 children, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had 14 children, none of them he saw was capable, until Srila BhaktiSiddhanta appeared, none of them was capable of carrying forward his movement because they didn't have the kind of interest that is required to push forward such a missionary movement. So he prayed to Lord Jagannath, and Lord Jagannath appeared to him in a dream and said, pray to Bimala Devi, who is Srimati Mahamaya Devi, sitting right outside the temple of Lord Jagannath in Jagannath Puri, and she will give you one of my rays. So he prayed for a ray of Vishnu to Bimala Devi, and very soon this boy was born. He was known as Bimal Prasad after the Devi who had given him this blessing. 1874, okay, 152 years. How many years ago? 152 years old. So, and then he says, in the next stanza, he says, "Oh, my master, the evangelic angel, give us thy light, light up thy candle. Struggle for existence, a human race, the only hope is divine grace." Right? So, oh, my master, the evangelic angel, we talked about that. Evangelism means trying to spread the word of God to everybody else. That's what evangelism means. And it's actually very rare in Vedic culture because a lot of people are very shy. They're bhajananandis. They like to meditate on Krishna within themselves. They don't really go outside to struggle with all the atheists and all the people with their own opinions. It's very difficult to struggle. Give us thy light, light up thy candle. Struggle for existence, a human race, the only hope is divine grace. So in this stanza, Srila Prabhupada is actually, if you notice the writings of great devotees, Srila Prabhupada, yeah. So the writings of great devotees are very, very directly instructive of the scriptures. So struggle for existence, a human race. So that's exactly the paraphrasing of the Sanskrit verse on the Bhagavad Gita. Mamayvangsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana manashasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. Struggle for existence, a human race. Okay, the only hope is divine grace. Also, the mantra that we chanted when we were begging for blessings, Om Adnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, Jnananjana Shalakaya means, Jnananjana Shalakaya means by the torchlight of knowledge. So here he's saying, give us thy light, light up thy candle. Give me your knowledge, please. Give me your knowledge. Okay? And then he's saying, misled we are, all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wonder thy ways to turn our face. Adore thy feet, your divine grace. Misled we are. So because of what I said, many confused people spreading their confusions all over the world, we are misled. We think that doing everything not connected to Krishna is actually in our best interest. We think that by going to college we'll actually be happy. We think that by earning a lot of money we'll be happy. We think by chasing after different sensual experiences we'll be happy. And we spend a lot of our time and energy actually in this pursuit, in this exercise. And we're completely misled. Now nobody's saying that we should not do these things, but we are misled in thinking that this is actually going to bring us make us happy and bring us satisfaction and joy that we're actually searching for. So this has to be done as a chore. It's like I have this material body, I've got to feed it, I've got to house it, I've got to clothe it. But that's the kind of attitude that we should have towards all of these other things that are not related to Krishna. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wonder thy ways to turn our face. So the spiritual master actually goes through great difficulties and invents all sorts of traps to catch people and bring them out of this misleading mentalities. So, all of us here, most of us anyways, at least me anyways, we came to the Western countries not for spiritual advancement. We did not come here for spiritual advancement. The West is not known for its advanced spiritual life. We came here for something other than spiritual advancement. But you can see that Srila Prabhupada and Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati before him had already laid out a trap for us. Right? They had already set up the Rath Yatra festivals, they had already published all these books, they were already going around with the kirtans, they were doing all these discourses, they had already set up all of these things. And can you imagine for a person like Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati, who is a resident of the spiritual world, to come out into a city like Calcutta, Madras, going all over India, meeting with people who are interested in money and all of this. Can you imagine how hard it is? He set up those 64 Gaudiya Maths to catch people and bring them into Krishna Bhakti. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada went all over the world, traveling in Africa and South America and Europe, meeting people who are not worth meeting, just so that we could have this particular thing. So all of us came here, but Srila Prabhupada already laid out working through Dhirnitai Prabhu and Nanda Gauranga Prabhu and all of these, Mother Dwaraka and all of these amazing souls. They already laid it out, and so it's so easily accessible. You're in Scarborough, you're in Scarborough. Right? You're in Milton, you're in Milton. You want to go to Mississauga? We have found a place for you in Mississauga. Right? Every single place. And actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Prithvi Chate Jayata, Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Vachar Bhaive Murnam. So like that. Adore thy feet, your divine grace. So why thy feet? Generally speaking, especially in Vedic culture, feet are, they touch all the filth everywhere. So you kind of keep them away from every other place, right? But the spiritual master's feet are different because they actually spread the dust of Krishna Bhakti. So therefore, his feet. In the next stanza, forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy the illusion's toll, darkness around all untraced, the only hope is divine grace. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls. So we have forgotten Krishna. We have amnesia. Once somebody remarked and said to Srila Prabhupada, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada actually said, Srila Prabhupada, he said, I'm in so much Maya sometimes. This disciple said, very sincerely. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him and said, sometimes. In other words, we are Krishna conscious sometimes. We are mostly like 99.99% we are in forgetfulness of Krishna. So forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls. Anybody who has forgotten Krishna is fallen. Right? Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad Maharaj says that only a person who feels fallen or has realized that most of the time they have forgotten Krishna is not fallen. But if a person has not realized that I am fallen, actually realize, not just say it, but actually realize, actually fallen. Not. Paying most heavy the illusions toll. So if you drive on a toll road, at the end of the month, you can drive on the toll road, no problem. The traffic is not there. You don't have to worry about the 401. You can go on the 407. You go there up and down every day. At the end of the month, you'll get a bill. Nice fat bill, isn't it? How many cents per kilometer is it on the 407? I don't know. In rush hour, it's more, double or triple. But if we think that we are paying a heavy toll by driving on the toll road, you can see how much of a toll we are paying on a daily basis just by thinking that we are these bodies. My Guru Mata asked the question, how many hours a day do you spend every day for your body? Count it. And most people will have to answer 24 hours. 24 hours a day you have to spend just for the upkeep of this body. You have to work 8 hours, commute for an hour plus 1 hour to your workplace, that's 10 hours. And these days, because of these phones, you're also working. When you're on your commute, when you're sitting at home, you're constantly working. Somebody is sending you a text message, Slack message, email, and this and that, right? Constantly working. So we are spending 12 to 14, 16 hours every day just to earn a livelihood, really. And the remaining time, what do? So tired, go to sleep. Especially here, when it's so dark in the winters, 6 hours of sleep is nothing here, isn't it? Feels like nothing. You feel like you feel like sleeping in bed for 10 hours, 12 hours, you want to be in bed, right? And then, okay, it's not just about going to bed. We just did some calculations from the 2025 financial things, and we found out that the biggest bill was a tax bill. Okay, so out of every, if you make $100, you pay a big chunk of your earnings to the government of Canada, right? And then the remaining part, when you look at it, when you put in your mortgage, when you put in your maintenance fees, when you put in your landscaping, you put in your whatever it is that you have to pay, your tax, property taxes, the city, maintenance, this thing is broken, that thing needs to be fixed, this thing is leaking, all of those things you maintain, that's the next biggest thing. So much time you have to spend making arrangements so we have a place to sleep at night, just making an arrangement. So if you think about it, 24 hours a day we are spending just looking after these bodies. So that's the toll. Can you imagine? We are all spirit souls. Satchidananda Vigraha is our definition also, not just Krishna. But that Satchidananda Vigraha has become Asat. And where is the Chit? Where is the Ananda? Everybody just, the moment you look at them, their eyes are tired, like this. There's no Chit, there's no Ananda. So it's such an embarrassment to be stuck up in this material body. Stuck up. And spending 24 hours a day for this body. We tell people to chant. How long does it take? About 2 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours. I don't have time for this. Oh no, you just have time for this body. You don't have time for yourself. And that is the illusion stole. That's what he's saying. Paying most heavy, the illusion stole. Thinking that I am this body. Paying most heavy, the illusion stole. Darkness around, all untraced. Untraced means there's no trace of where to go. It's completely foggy. Cannot see. During that, anybody was driving around during the snowstorm, it was snowing in the morning. Cannot see 10 feet ahead of you, isn't it? It's like that, untraced. The only hope is divine grace, our spiritual master. So, what is the solution? What is that clarity? Message of service thou hast brought, a helpful life as Chaitanya wrought. So, WROUGHT, not ROT. Message of service. So, the biggest gift of ISKCON Scarborough is that we get an opportunity to serve Krishna and his devotees. That's the biggest gift. To have some service, like Mother Satatanu, the head pujari of Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath was saying, she was talking about this devotee and that devotee and that devotee, and so she was saying, he doesn't yet have service. He's doing this temporarily until that person comes back from yatra. So you could see from her use of language that to have some service for Krishna is actually a great, great privilege. That I have this service, this is my seva. That message of service thou hast brought, a helpful life, as Lord Chaitanya has brought. Has given. Lord Chaitanya said, what has he said? Jivera Swarupa hoye, Krishna Nitya Das. Please say, repeat after. Jivera Swarupa hoye, Krishna Nitya Das. Who's Das? Krishna Nitya Das. Jivera Swarupa hoye, Krishna Nitya Das. So this is, if we are not Nitya, if we are actually Nitya Das of Krishna, but we have become this Deha Das, this mortgage Das, and this employer Das. That's what we have become, isn't it? We have become this Indriya Das. I have to look at this, I have to look at this. We have become this Dam Das, Jivha Das. So many other Dases, except Krishna Das. So that service, if we have that service, if the devotees call you and say, this is a service that I have for you, can you please do it for me? You should feel most privileged that, oh, Krishna is giving me some service again. So this is very important. Unknown to all, it's full of grace. Now people think, oh, I have service. But unknown to all, it's full of grace. A person who has the service, you find out from them how energized they feel when they do that service actually. They're actually Krishna consciousness. A person who has a service is very energized, very energetic. Even though when there's no physical energy, they're fully energized. Right? full of brace. Brace means when you go out in the fresh air and you feel energetic. That's the kind of energy that Seva gives us, Krishna Seva gives us. That's your gift, your divine grace. So spiritual master gives us Seva, and that's the gift that. And now, this is the first thing that Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati fought so hard to establish. And due to this, attempts were made on his life. Okay? Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity, thou hast moved. Huh? Whenever people, like, we talked about how people confuse people spreading their confusion. Most people, because they're so frustrated in the material world, whether it's with their relationships, whether it's with their interactions with other people, whether it's a fight with somebody else, they think that, dealing with other people is always troublesome. So therefore, spiritual perfection means I don't have to deal with anyone. Huh? Why? I don't have to deal with anyone means I am one with everything. I'm one. But this is a calamity. Because when we say that, we actually are saying that the absolute is just a faceless, nameless energy. It's an energy. We just become part of that energy. There's either that or, hey, everything is zero, there's nothing that exists. Just dissolve yourself. Just make yourself shunya. Make your ego zero. These are all very, very seductive things for someone who has suffered in the material world. Suffered. It's like the solution, I have a headache, I have a really bad headache. At a certain point, they will try to harm themselves in such a way so that they don't have to feel that headache anymore. There was a famous artist named Van Gogh. He could feel this ringing in his ear. And because of the ringing in his ear, he wanted to cut off parts of his body. Did he do that actually? He actually cut off. He cut off his ear because he was so frustrated with that ringing in his ear. And I know devotees who have such headaches and have such kind of ringing in their head. It's an absolutely painful thing. Nobody understands what they're going through. Everybody thinks they're making it up. But this is it. Impersonal calamity thou has moved. This gives us a life anew and fresh. Worship thy feet, your divine grace. So when we actually discover that, hey, the Supreme Absolute Truth is a person, and I have a relationship with that person, and he's going to reciprocate with me like nobody ever has been able to. And when we actually feel that reciprocation with the person, with Krishna, with Mahabagavat, when we feel that reciprocation, then that life is unmatched. Where else have you seen a 70-year-old man going and starting a multi-billion-dollar business? International Society for Krishna Consciousness. They want to sit around playing with their grandchildren. Right? Or they want to go retire to Vrindavan or somewhere, just stand, do their bhajan and relax. Right? No, not Srila Prabhupada. Had you not come, and this echoes Srila Chaitanya Swami Maharaj's famous poem, Jadi Prabhupada na hoito. That poem is echoed here. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna, forceful and bold, that's your right, you have the mace. Save me a fallen with divine grace. This is Srila Prabhupada. Okay? Srila A.C. BhaktiSiddhanta Swami Prabhupada, he's saying, save me a fallen with divine grace. So what do you say? If you don't feel fallen, you are fallen. So Srila Prabhupada is not fallen because he's always feeling fallen. Like there was a famous interaction with Srila Prabhupada with his disciples, where there was some interaction about falling down. And Srila Prabhupada asserted, I shall never fall down. He asserted very boldly, I shall never fall down. And some disciple observed him making this assertion. And then later on, he went in front of the deity. And he was praying for a long time, was praying very fervently. And one disciple was watching Srila Prabhupada praying. And then later on, he asked Srila Prabhupada, what were you praying for? Disciples asked all sorts of questions to the spiritual master. What were you praying for? And Srila Prabhupada said, I was praying to the Lord to not let me fall down. And then the other disciple who heard the statement, I shall never fall down, asked him, but did not ask him, but looked at him, and Srila Prabhupada knew the question that was happening in the disciple's mind. And he says, I shall never fall down because I am always praying that I shall never fall down. So that's the thing. Save me a fallen, your divine name. So within his heart, our Srila Prabhupada was always worshipping spiritual master, saying, save me, please don't let me fall. Please don't let me fall. Like that. Okay? So he's saying, the line of service as drawn by you is pleasing and healthy like morning dew, the oldest of all but in new dress. Miracle done, your divine grace. So this knowledge is very old, Puratan. It's not very new, this knowledge that we are getting that Krishna is a sweet personality of God, that we are all his eternal servants. It's not something that is new. It's very old, but it is new because it is new to us who have forgotten this knowledge. Okay? So, Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Thakur, great personality, established 64 Gaudiya Maths all over India, including South India, North India, West India, East India, everywhere he went, traveled and established that. He wrote, very prolific writer, wrote many books and articles. He published his father's books, published his own books, right? He is a foremost among our saviors, like the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We owe it to an instruction that Srila BhaktiSiddhanta gave to our Srila Prabhupada, which was to organize and make this Krishna consciousness a very organized fashion. Now, it's a very risky thing to organize in spiritual life, like because when you start organizing, then you have to worry about money, you have to worry about personality clashes, you worry about finding somebody to do the service consistently. It's easy to build the temples, it's really hard to maintain them. Just go to India, you'll find out so many abandoned temples, so many temples, one old broken pujari just trying to carry on the service. Right? So many temples are there all over India. Wherever you go, south, north, west, east, you go anywhere, so many such temples are there. So when you organize, you create a lot of risks. Like sometimes some politician fellow will gain a lot of power in the organization and just make a mess of the whole thing. There's so many problems. Whereas spiritual life is all about simplicity. Don't worry about all of these kinds of things. Be very austere. Be very calmly sit down in one place and chant Hare Krishna. But spiritual masters like Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Thakur and Srila Prabhupada take the risk of organizing, because without organizing, it's not possible to systematically propagate and reach many people. And this organization becomes the vehicle. So even though people may say that ISKCON has this fault and ISKCON has that fault, I say yes, sure. It's because of us that ISKCON has these faults, right? But when we become perfected, then ISKCON won't have any faults. But the devotees take a risk to organize and make this. Can you imagine the struggles of BhaktiSiddhanta Prabhu every time he goes fundraising, and the kind of people that he has to meet, right? Can you imagine the struggles of Mother Dwaraka, Ananda Gauranga Prabhu, and now all the present temple council members in ISKCON Scarborough? It's a headache. But they take it so that they can propagate Krishna consciousness in an organized fashion. Otherwise, how can we make a Rath Yatra in Milliken Park? How can we make it possible without organization? 2 people just with kartals cannot do it. We need hundreds of people working on it. That's why they do it. So he was so prolific and so honest and so uncompromising that people were ready to kill him. There are many documented efforts of people who try to kill BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Of course, just like there are many people who try to kill Ramanujacharya. There are many people who try to kill so many great souls. Okay, so Jesus Christ, right? People try to kill Jesus Christ. What stupidity! Can you even kill such a person? No. So, anyways, one of the things he did, which is powering all of us today, okay, is he took a vow of chanting 1 billion names of Krishna. You know how much is 1 billion? How much is 1 billion? How much is 1 billion? 1,000 million. Okay, 1,000 million is 1 billion. Okay, I've broken it down. So 1 billion names in one Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there are 16 names, right? So when you divide 1 billion divided by 16, you get 62.5 million Mahamantras. Okay, he took a vow to chant 62.5 million Mahamantras. Or how many rounds is that? Okay, one round has 108 mantras, right? That is 578 lakh rounds, or 5.78 million rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. How many rounds do you chant every day? You don't have to say. But I'm just checking. Not 5.78 million, right? Okay. So that is 578,000 rounds. Okay. So if you chant 64 rounds a day, there are devotees who chant 64 rounds a day. But if you chant 64 rounds a day, it will take you 9,042 days to chant 578,000 rounds. Okay. That is, how many years? 24 years. If you chant 64 rounds a day, it will take you 24 years. And Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was so intense that he completed it in less than 10 years. How many rounds do you think he was chanting every day? 192, 200, he was counting and chanting these rounds. So the chanting that BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did is benefiting all of us. Now, somebody might, we might easily get somebody to chant Hare Krishna. That is because that power of his chanting is flowing to us also. Each and every one of us, you also. Right? That's why we're able to chant actually. Otherwise, like Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad Swami Maharaj, one of my teachers says, doing something material in the material world is very difficult. Right? Is it difficult or not? Doing something material, organizing a picnic, right? Is it difficult or not? Getting people together, figuring out what is the menu, and that is material. But he says, doing something spiritual in the material world is impossible. Because material world is not meant for spiritual things, right? Material world is meant for material things. But still it is happening, isn't it? Spiritual things are happening. The impossible is happening in the material world. ISKCON Scarborough, if you look at the statistics of probability, should not exist. And you ask any of the members how many times it almost got shut down. It was this close. So many times. Same thing with ISKCON Toronto. We almost lost that building, the building that we have on 243 Avenue Road. A couple of times it happened. So many times it happened. There were accidents, so many crazy things that happened. So technically speaking, ISKCON Scarborough, ISKCON Toronto, ISKCON Milton, ISKCON Stouffville, all these should not exist. But the fact that they exist means that something impossible is happening in the material world. And that impossible is a result of acharyas like this. Not only BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but before him, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada's bhajan. All of that is powering us today. So we should acknowledge and recognize that. Okay? So we have just 5 minutes left. That's it. I'm done with all my. Also, he left at the age of 63, again in Jagannath Puri. One of the places of pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a place called Chatak Parvat, very close to the Jagannath Puri temple. It's on a hill like this, and there are many esoteric pastimes of Sri Krishna associated with this place. And Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left in this world. So, what is the benefit for us to meditate on the life of these great personalities? The benefit is that where attention goes, energy flows. So, if you pay attention to how many lakh rounds? 5.78 lakh rounds, 578,000 rounds that Srila BhaktiSiddhanta chanted. If you pay our attention, it becomes quite easy to chant our 16 rounds, isn't it? So, just one simple example, but in many ways, when we reflect on the acharyas, they all benefit and we all bring auspiciousness into our own lives. Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Anandavati Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Anybody has questions, comments, or reflections? We have 5 minutes. Vamsi Bihari Prabhu, one of those stalwart temple council members, struggles very hard for his Scarborough. Yes, Prabhu.
You mentioned what our acharyas have done for us. Are we like obliged to them, or what amount of obligation we have to them, and how we can never pay, but
Not only to them, we have obligation. The moment we take our birth, we are obligated. Like we are already in debt and we can never get out of it. Devarshi bhutapta drinam vitranam nayam rinina kinkaram charajam sarvatmanaya sharanam charanyam gato mukundam varirtyakartum. The only way that a person is no longer in debt is if that person is a pure devotee of Krishna. Everybody else is in debt, 100%. So our duty simply is to pay it forward. Because what can you give to BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? What can you give to Srila Prabhupada? He has Krishna, what can you give him? And what can we give to our spiritual masters? They have Krishna, they have given us so much. What can we give them? What can we give to a person who has given us Shuddha Nam? What can we give them? We can only pay it forward. We can only pass on whatever we have received to somebody else. That's it. That's all we can do. We cannot give anything back in return to the people who have brought us Golokya Premadhan, Harinam Sankirtan. And then if we actually focus on that, and Krishna Sakti Vina Nahital Pravartan, we can push it forward if we just take it upon ourselves. So, actually speaking, our obligation, Prabhu, is to struggle for our spiritual master. Struggle. So everybody should do this. Really go out of our comfort zone, struggle. Distribute those books, distribute prasadam, tell people about Krishna, collect funds for ISKCON Scarborough. Like, we are trying to get a new temple. Get us that, make it happen. Like, go to your networks. Don't feel ashamed of this. Struggle, like really struggle. That's the only way it's going to happen. Anything else you want to add? Struggle for Krishna. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Anandavati Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Ram Mahamantra ki Jai. Thank you very much. By the way, if you do not have a copy of this Brahma Samhita, you should please get one today. Because this is the only widely accessible book of Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because the BhaktiSiddhanta Book Trust has undertaken to publish it. So every single word of it is something that you can reflect for the whole night. I will read you one sentence from it, okay? One sentence. Only one sentence. I'm reading from the foreword by Srila BhaktiSiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself, okay? Here's one sentence. And this is going to drive you crazy. You're going to think about it when you are waking up tomorrow morning. You're going to think about it in school. You're going to worry about it when you're trying to finish your homework. You're going to worry, think about it. So, just 1 second. We have to read this one sentence. It's just like a conch shell. Okay? Okay. The materialistic demeanor cannot possibly stretch to the transcendental autocrat who is ever inviting the fallen conditioned souls to associate with him through devotional or eternal serving mood. You want to repeat after me this one sentence? Conch shell. Okay? Here. The materialistic demeanor cannot possibly stretch to the transcendental autocrat who is ever inviting the fallen conditioned souls to associate with him through devotion or eternal serving mood. So what this means is that by having a materialistic attitude, we cannot ever reach Krishna, who is inviting us, but we need to let go of the materialistic mood in order to reach him. Okay? One meaning of it. There's many deeper meanings, and you can do a whole class on this one sentence. Hare Krishna.
There you go.